Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Nasdaq Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Castle, and joining us today from the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center in San Francisco is the founder CEO of Postman, Abhinav Asthana. Abhinav, very nice to speak with you today.
Thanks for having me here, Jack.
So let's start off with maybe an introduction for the audience on Postman, the solutions you have and the problem you're solving for customers.
Sounds good. So Postman is an API platform for developers to build and use APIs. We have products for developers that make them more productive. We have tools for teams to allow them to collaborate together when they're building APIs or using APIs. And we have an enterprise API platform that allows companies, all the way from companies with a few engineers to thousands of engineers to build and manage APIs at scale.
Okay, and I had seen, you mentioned a couple different groups there, but I had read that you have over 25 million developers actually using Postman today. So maybe a follow-up question to that is what sets you apart from the others in this market?
Yeah, so 25 million and growing. The number of developers in the world continues to grow to meet the demands of the modern technology software world today. So where Postman started from is probably one of the main reasons. Of course, we have continued innovating on our product. But what we saw was developers are spending more and more time with APIs as part of their daily life. Mm-hmm. So they are spending time discovering APIs, evaluating APIs, and integrating APIs. And really, they didn't have anything custom built before Postman to help them in this activity. So Postman is really like a key tool in their arsenal. And with what they have to do every day, it means that across the world, across every industry, every technology, every industry sector, people are building APIs, and that's why we continue to grow.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and obviously continuing to see that scale. One of the trends we're seeing obviously this year, especially in the headlines, is AI. So I wanted to ask, what do you believe the implications of AI will be for Postman going forward?
So in one way, the explosion of AI, especially this year, is driven by APIs. APIs created by OpenAI, Microsoft, and now Google and AWS are all given to developers through APIs that developers are incorporating into their applications. So that's just one way in which API growth is going to continue. But there are two other deep, I think if I would forecast anything, in this world is, the first thing that we see is that, AI is going to be this new way for consumers to interact with technology, mm-hmm. Which means that, companies have to build APIs to be visible to that AI technology. So, like the way you are building APIs for your mobile application, your web application, now you have to build APIs that the AI bots can actually consume, which just means that companies have to get better at building more and more APIs. So if they want to stay relevant in kind of like in this new AI driven world. So that's one thing that I think will propel the growth of APIs even more. And I think the second thing what we see is, which is already kind of proven in the world of software programming, I think AI itself is going to assist programmers to build software faster. Mm-hmm. And what we are also seeing is that it will allow non-developers, people who are really getting started just now, to enter the world of software development in a big way. So I think it will kind of intersect very well with the no-code, low-code movement that's been going on for a long time. Like even though we have 25 million developers, the world needs more, and it takes a few years to get developers to really build technology. So these are all going to be driven by AI. We're going to see people get productive, and they'll be able to build faster.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective on it. I like that. Personal question for you. You recently raised your Series D. You've had incredible scale and growth, as we discussed, kind of from the founding especially. How have you changed as a leader, growing from a startup to now 700 plus employees?
It looks like it's been a few years, but when you are in the middle of it, you're always scaling. You're always working hard. So it still seems kind of crazy to me that we went from like 3 co-founders to now where we are, and there is of course, a lot of work for us to do. We still have to scale a lot. But I think when I look back, from our founding team to where we are now, in the early days, we just focused on product and, basically shipping. You just want to get something out in front of people very, very quickly. We wanted, developers are a very hard segment to, even build a product for, forget about marketing. So we really focused on shipping a great product, shipping simple experiences that developers could, respond with. And then, for the first few years, even though we had raised venture capital, we were very judicious about hiring and bringing new people on board. We wanted kind of the same DNA, the same developer empathy that, the founders had. Around 10, 20 people, you start seeing the need for formal processes. And especially when we, brought in the first, non-engineering hire, when you have to go really package the product and talk about it, in front of whether it's customers or prospects or just the community. So, we had different scaling challenges there. I also moved to the US in 2017. So in some ways, we were ahead of the remote, world. Like I was the first remote employee in some sense. And we found out that, communication challenges really, they're even harder when you are building a company across these two different time zones and two different places. Around 150, is often cited as a number, and we experienced that as well. Maybe a little earlier because, we were kind of distributed. But that's when the scale of the company starts becoming real to people. You have to be more deliberate. You have to ship fast. I mean, if you're not shipping fast, you kind of lose in the market. So you have to do that while in conjunction with bringing the entire go-to-market teams along, your entire product management teams along. So lots of hard lessons learned. I wouldn't say we got everything down perfectly. But we've been fortunate to almost double headcount year over year, and when I look at the impact that the team is creating from the outside in, when I talk to customers, when I talk to people who are using the product, that's kind of like the real feedback that makes me happy. So all of that scaling is for the benefit of our customers, and I'm happy that we've been able to build a team that is delivering better almost every day.
Yeah, well, mission accomplished, at least so far.
So
right?
far.
So for the entrepreneurs and the founders that are watching today, what's one piece of advice that you would have for them if they're out starting their companies, especially in today's environment?
Well, the one thing, Jack, has been, or at least what I've seen, is that I read all the literature that one could find on starting companies, and while the mechanics of fundraising, the economic environment changes, the core ideas behind a startup kind of don't change. You have to build a product that people would like to use and would like to pay for, and those are the things that a startup founder or the founding team has to get right as quickly as possible. If when I talk to founders, the faster you can build things yourself, the faster you can prove out something that you can put in front of customers, the easier the journey ahead would be. I think in the last few years, we have seen the mechanics of building a company, fundraising, setting up an office, all of that take precedence over, shooting for product market fit. And, my advice to founders always is, from my experience, just keep the customer at the center. And if you're solving a real problem and the customer starts responding, all of this other stuff, you have to do. And for that, hire the best lawyer, hire the best accountant. There are people who will do that better for you. Yeah. But your job is to really, kind of drive that wedge in and really own the market. And it's kind of probably back in fashion, but stay scrappy. The other job you have is to not run out of money. So the faster you get your product market fit and you stay focused on customers, when they start paying you and you're funding the company with their money, over time, it's a much better outcome. for your employees. It's a much better outcome for your investors, and eventually it's a much better outcome for your customers.
Well said, Abhinav. That's great advice, and thank you so much for coming in today and speaking with us. And congratulations again on being selected to the Enterprise Tech 30 list.
Thank you so much.